Red noses, huge shoes, bright colors, Pennywise, idiot, balloons, birthday parties, chainsaws, blood. These are all things that come to mind when I think of the word clown. And chances are you have similar associations. Well, let me tell you right now, that's not where this video is going. Because have you ever thought about clowns and immediately connected them to fashion icons? Well, if not, then you've been missing out on one of the most surprising, although after we talk about it you'll find that it isn't surprising at all, internet aesthetic trends of the last half a decade, called Clowncore. My name is Juno, your local Mothman. Welcome to my aesthetic deep dive series, where we analyze internet aesthetics while I make art inspired by them. And today we will be taking a look at Clowncore that's been confusing people for quite some time now. Is it just a new high of Gen Z weirdness, or is there something more meaningful to it? Why would people want to be clowns? What about it is appealing enough that people are ready to deal with public scrutiny in order to express themselves? What is Clowncore really about? I'm gonna answer all of these questions and more in this deep dive, but first, let me thank my Patreons: Fungus Finder, LEJPR, Zachary Hagen, Sashira, The Artistic Dragon, Artur Tchaikovsky, Binder Benate, and Look. And you, my dear viewer, relax, subscribe if you want to, and let's go back in time to learn how on earth we ended up in the 2020s with a fashion trend to quite literally make a fool out of yourself. Let me tell you, you might think it's random and plain weird, but it's not. And before we dive into niche internet communities and talk about TikTok, we need to learn what it truly means to be a clown. So let's go back in time. No, like further. Further. Oh, there we go. Welcome to Old Kingdom era Egypt, where clowns are priests? Yes. As insane as it sounds, clowns throughout many cultures, religions, and eras served the same purpose as religious leaders. In Egypt, they would put on elaborate outfits that would represent the gods and perform skits to entertain their pharaoh. In ancient Greece, the home of satire, ritual clowns were an integral part of the theatre and the courts. Same goes for multiple other cultures, from ancient China and indigenous tribes of America to African nations. In multiple places in the world, unrelated and uninfluenced by each other, clowns seem to be revered and incredibly important to the societal structure. Now, let's fast forward a bit. Christ has been born, Western Europe has been colonizing the rest of the world for a couple hundred years now, and clowns are street performers and members of the royal courts. The clown in a post-classical era Europe holds a unique role. Of course, they're there to entertain their rich patrons or the flock of peasant children on the streets, but with their foolery comes the jester's privilege. They can talk and mock freely, as long as, by the words of William Shakespeare, they are wise enough to play the fool. This jester's privilege is a cornerstone on which clowns build their influence in the courts of Europe, and the key piece to understanding this painting by Jan Matejko. Its subject is the Polish court jester Stańczyk, and it's one of the most well-known art pieces depicting clowns. I could go on and on about the Stańczyk mythos and how this clown jester that might have never even existed became the symbol of freedom and resistance in an occupied Poland. But we don't have the time for that. What we do have time for is establishing the fact that clowns used to be seen as political figures. As a court jester, Stańczyk was incredibly influential and witty, a man that could look the king in the eye and essentially call him an idiot for losing battles and giving up land. Now, before we do our last jump forward and talk about modern times that laid the grounds for Clowncore's emergence in the 2020s, let's first answer the question: what does it mean to be a clown? So far, what we learned about clowns throughout history kind of contradicts our assumptions and associations. If I were to call someone a clown now, it would be an insult. Yet to be a clown means to have a healing presence, to laugh and make fun of things others wouldn't dare, to speak the truth, to challenge authority, to entertain both the ultra-powerful and the dirty poor, to be a spiritual guide and a politician. All of these sentiments seem to be almost conflicting. Religion and politics are serious topics. How can clowns be meaningfully involved with them in a way that actually matters? American sociologist Peter Berger hypothesized about it this way. It seems plausible that folly and fools meet some deeply rooted needs in human society. And with that, we can finally talk about the art of clowning. Yes, to be a clown means to embrace art. Or as Russian clown Slava Polunin says, being a clown doesn't mean that you work at the theater, you live the theater, you are the theater. And as the living embodiment of theater, you are a sponge for all human experiences, and a sculptor that carves through the noise in order to expose what is at the core of all of us. When I was a kid, my family decided that after spending the past 6 years in Britain, we will be returning home to Poland. My mom decided to throw one last goodbye party for me and my friends to have fun together before I leave the country and them behind. And for this goodbye party, my mom hired a clown, and I to this day remember when he came in. Some kids started crying, but I was just so excited to see him, and he asked whose birthday party it was. It got quiet for a bit, and then I told him that there is no birthday, and that this is a goodbye party. And I remember how he took that and immediately turned around and started to ugly cry, and it made all of me and my friends laugh so much. I'm bringing up this story as an example because this is what clowns do. They take the difficult things and make you laugh about them, not by avoiding the subject, but by facing it straight on. And maybe they'll even make you a purple balloon dog as a nice bonus. So, what does it mean to be a clown? It means to fully embrace humanity and all that it entails. But don't worry, I won't get sentimental on you just yet, because we once again need to jump forward in time and arrive at modern days. The second part of this video, and the least honest thing on earth: pop culture. Court jesters and carnivals might be a thing of the past, but the human need for entertainment never dies. Believe it or not, we still have clowns to this day. Figures such as Rowan Atkinson, Jack Black, and Jim Carrey are examples of performers that all use clowning in their work. But let's leave actual comedians behind and do what show business does the best. We can now take clowning, strip it of all of its meaning, take the aesthetics of it, and then monetize them and make them into a brand. You already know where this is going. A certain musical artist has been blowing up over the last couple of years. An artist that is bringing camp back. I'm of course talking about Dorian Electra. Dorian Electra is a musician that is drag incarnate, and with their latest album being titled Fanfare, I think that talking about them will work perfectly for this segment of the video, because I think it would be rather foolish of me to try and claim that the biggest inspiration behind Clowncore are actual historical jesters, when in reality, like with most aesthetics, the music industry plays a huge role. And Clowncore is infused with pop culture and drag influences. Queer culture has always been inadvertently tied to the arts, and especially performance art and theatre. And musical artists such as Dorian Electra love to play with that. Their aesthetics and looks for the fanfare era are a mix of traditional visuals such as marching band costumes with their usual sexual flair. The only thing missing to truly call this a clowncore look is the over-the-top makeup. But when it comes to loud, expressive makeup looks, we have another artist in the scene that excels at those. And that, of course, is Chappell Roan. With her drag-inspired, kitschy, glittery outfits, she's been taking over the world of music this past summer, reviving queer culture on the big stages and bringing it into the mainstream. And because artists such as Chappell use drag as an inspiration in their acts, their outfits are often theatrical and personas exaggerated, and due to this, they and their predecessors such as Lady Gaga or My Chemical Romance have had a huge impact on modern-day clowncore. And on the other side of the pop culture coin, that also serves as an inspiration for the aesthetic, there are the depictions of clowns in popular movies, which are mostly horror movies. Pop culture is often only a response to real-life events. With the John Wayne Gacy case, as well as the 2016 mass evil clown sightings, the fear of clowns have been deeply ingrained in people, and the influx of media about evil murder clowns is only a reflection of that. So it's not surprising that the TikTok flavor of clowncore feels like a performance of the audience's expectation, by which I mean that many of the clowncore TikToks are somewhat unsettling, or at least attempt to be. A popular sound used with the clowncore hashtag is a sound from a horror podcast called The Magnus Archives.
You don't sound Russian?
How could I sound anything, silly? I'm plastic. I don't even have a voice box. I had to borrow this one. Don't turn on the light.
Are you going to kill me?
No! I mean, yes, but not for a good long while yet.
Now, knowing all that we know about the history of clowns and the impacts of pop culture, let's take a look at clowncore and start deciphering why we're seeing a rise in popularity of such an odd aesthetic. Clowncore to me feels like one of the only truly fun fashion trends that emerged lately. It truly feels like it exists in order to uplift people. There are no beauty standards in clowncore. You can be whatever gender, ethnicity or size, and still you can put on a face full of makeup and do silly little dances or do the cosplay hand gesture thing. And it's also such an incredible outlet for creativity. Obviously, you can see the types of clown clothing items you might expect, such as red noses, big puffy collars, colorful jumpsuits, waistcoats, and so on. However, clowncore is much more functional than professional clown attire. The clothing of a clown is part of the performance. They're often exaggerated and filled with props, but clowncore clothing is less about the performance aspect and more about self-expression. So people personalize their outfits however they want. Many clowncore enjoyers make their own outfits, either by flipping thrift store clothing or by making their own garments from scratch. And I love it. Because of that, we get to see a huge variety in interpretations of clown fashion. People mix clown attire with other alternative fashion. Some lean towards decora and pastelita, and others more towards goth. The same goes for the makeup looks. With colorful face paints and a couple of eyeshadow palettes, you can do whatever you want with your face, and people do exactly that, transforming themselves into clown monsters or puppets or mimes or Donald McDonald for some reason. Either way, watching Clowncore videos, I always get a bunch of conflicting feelings swirling in my head. So let's explore those feelings and finally answer the main question of this essay. Why? Expressionism is an artistic style in which the artist seeks to depict not objective reality, but rather the subjective emotions and responses that objects and events arouse within a person. The artist accomplishes this aim through distortion, exaggeration, primitivism, and fantasy, and through the vivid, jarring, violent, and dynamic applications of formal elements. During times of social unrest, the art reflects what the people feel. It becomes more scattered, less focused on the principles and rules, and more open to innovation and experimentation. And I think that this re-emergence of Clowncore in the 2020s is happening as a reaction to the uncertainty people feel. Being silly is something that I think Gen Z embraces more than the previous generations, mainly because of how crazy the world is nowadays. You either make the choice to be happy through tragedy and the worldwide unrest, or you drown under the constant negativity and break your back under the weight of the world. I think back to that Peter Berger quote about how foolery fulfills hidden needs in our society, and I am inclined to agree. The lack of public, easily accessible fun is felt in our societies. With the change from live performance being the life of the streets and people to now being a luxury, of course young people flock to video platforms to enjoy theatre. We need jesters. People long for theatre even if they don't know it. But even more so, people long for honesty. One of the compliments that I get quite frequently outside of people liking my voice is about how they appreciate my openness and willingness to express how I feel and what I think, instead of just reading off of a Wikipedia page. And I completely understand that. My favorite entertainers are people who aren't afraid to express things. My favorite streamer is always his cringy self and doesn't care about what people think about it. Being unapologetically yourself is attractive. It's why so many people are drawn to the passionate and creative types, actors, public speakers, performers, and charismatic politicians. In a world that is a corporate, bleak, and grey hellscape, we need art and color more than ever. Many people are exhausted, tired, and confused, and art can give them the tool they need to express something that they might not be able to put into words. And clowning is a form of art that allows us to face the deepest parts of ourselves. That's why it's funny when a clown fails repeatedly at something. We are all scared of failure and public humiliation, and clowns express that fear, make it play out, and then say, look, it wasn't that bad, was it? Clowncore says the exact same thing. It says, hey, look at me, I am cringe and loud and all over the place. I am completely unserious and I am having fun with it. Clowncore embraces the otherness rather than rejecting it. Think about how controlled your facial expressions need to be. Now contrast that with clowns and pantomimes that work with their entire bodies and faces, oftenly going from one ridiculous facial expression to another. I truly wonder what is more natural to us, to trip and fall flat on our faces with hair wild and unkempt, or the grey work attire and sitting in front of a computer screen for 8 hours every day, exchanging meaningless pleasantries with equally burned out coworkers. Another thing that I think is very appealing about becoming a clown is the transformation aspect of it. When you put on heavy clown makeup and costume, you're no longer you. You're a clown. Your own personal identity is lost, and instead you can be something that is almost inhuman to a degree. Clowns, due to their otherness, almost feel like their own species, and many performers lean into it. In a world where people are willing to film and take photos of complete strangers in order to mock them on social media, putting on a full face of clown makeup and a funky outfit feels like defiance. It feels like a statement. There is a sentiment that I personally really like and subscribe to, and that is that the highest form of defiance is a happy existence. To persevere despite it all, and to do so with a smile on your face. And that's what Clowncore is about to me. It's about breaking the rules with humor and color. It's about accepting yourself and others just the way they are and not letting shame get to you. To be untouched by shame is to be truly free. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. Just a fair warning, if you're interested in Clowncore, be careful when searching things up, because you just might, instead of, let's say, work on your video essay, you might end up wasting your time looking at bonker badonkers. Anyways, if you like this video, please consider subscribing and watching the other installments of this series. If you would like to support me, you can join my Patreon for $1.50, and if you want to hang out with some chill people, share your art or photos of your pets, we have a Discord server, and the link to that is in the description below. I am so grateful to all of you. Thank you for being here, and I will catch you next time. Bye bye!